Hello, and welcome to the Lighten Up podcast by Lauren Polly, your invitation for living on the lighter side of life. I am Lauren Polly, and I am delighted you have chosen to join me today for episode 200 Lessons from the Earth. Today, we're going to talk about some practical ways of going about becoming more expansive in your life. We're going to go through a couple exercises, my favorite kind of tricks of the trade to be able to reclaim a sense of peace, of possibility, and space. And I love this conversation on this kind of interesting crux point that we're at here with the COVID-19 pandemic. For those of you listening in the future, you might want to kind of look back to this time and go, oh my goodness, I can't believe we actually went through that and came out the other side. Here's hoping. Those of you right now who are listening in the present moment, just know that, you're not in this alone. There's a lot of people all over the world going through interestingness right now. There's a lot of interesting energies. There's a fight right now that's starting to break out against the lockdown situation. At first, it was kind of this acquiescing of like, yes, health is important and we're willing to stay home. Now there's an interesting energy of unrest and battle that's starting to grow with growing protest against it. It's kind of a fascinating time to live through, and I think personally there's so many interesting things going on in people's lives with job changes, job losses, economic interestingness. Who knows what this is going to look like when we come out of it? There's still the worry spots about physical distance and actually keeping yourself and your body safe and healthy. And on a grander scale, there's just this kind of unknown of like, wow, every reference point that I had to how life worked is just gone. It's just not how it is now. And hey, are we going to go back to that when this all changes? Are we going to create something new and different? Right now, we're kind of in the middle of a big question mark with it. And I really get that it's going to depend on people's choices moving forward of what that new reality on the other side of this is going to look like. And with that is an incredible invitation for yourself to actually go, wow, there's a huge question mark right now. There's a huge breaking down of what was, and it feels uncomfortable and it's freaking me out a bit. I get it. But I wonder what choices I can make right now that actually allow me to create the future I desire. Because really and truly, that's all we've got, folks, is the present moment. We were living on autopilot for so long of just this expected, predictable reality. And it got very easy to kind of tune out your awareness and tune out your daily choices and what it was creating. And right now is not the time to keep living in that pattern. It's a wake-up call. And with that wake-up call, that initial shake, a lot of us are going through kind of that, freak out thing, or the stress or the anxiety or the fear that starts to come up. I'd like this episode, especially tapping into the energies of the earth right now, to actually allow you to expand your perspective, to have a sense of peace and choice. And with that, allowing yourself to then have the perspective, the band of awareness to start looking at what you can choose right now that will lead your life into greater when all this is said and done. We're coming up on Earth Day as well, so I wanted to actually bring in the greatest teacher. One of the greatest teachers in my life is the earth and the way nature functions and how we can use that to actually gain a greater sense of perspective. If you just right now allow yourself to breathe a bit deeper, perhaps take a bigger exhale. Most of us tend to hold our breaths when we get a bit anxious. Let your body actually release. And let that deeper belly breath just kind of fill you in a very relaxing, unforced, unheld way. If you'd like to plant your feet on the earth, even if it's inside a house or inside a car, it's still the earth. Plant them down and allow your energy just to expand. And now open up the bottoms of your feet, like opening a channel between you and the earth. And what would it take to actually have the awareness that we are not living on a dead rock floating through space, that we are actually living on a living, breathing organism that has gone through a lot of changes over the millennia, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of interesting things with no point of view, and is still, regardless of anything, allowed itself to continue to generate. There's not a lot of words that go with that. I'm just inviting kind of more of a deep space of relaxation with it and asking of that energy to be there. And it's always funny to me to kind of have this conversation with newer people to these tools who are kind of going, oh, it's kind of weird that like the earth has energy or that could have some sort of relaxing effect on me. And I always bring up, well, why do you think all the screensavers on computers are usually nature based? And I say, when you look at those pictures, when you look at the screensavers, what do you feel? And people are like, oh, I am relaxed. I kind of get out of my own head. There's more of a sense of there's a world out there. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's what nature can gift us. There's a bigger perspective to be had, and there's a greater future to be had. And I think so much of what we're going through right now, so much of the angsty, rubby points that a lot of people are feeling, is that there's an uncertainty in the future. And sometimes that uncertainty can get so big that it almost seems like there isn't a future, or a future that would actually be worth sticking around for. I would love this conversation, these energies of the earth to actually allow you to expand your perspective, to look at the choices you do have right now. And again, this is kind of a fascinating thing. What choices can we be making right now that actually lead to the future that we desire? There is again that great big question mark going on, that breaking down of the reference points. And because it's not this autopilot, one foot in front of the other living that so many of us got akin to and kind of looped into, it feels a bit uncomfortable, but at the same time, there's a lot of possibilities here. What does the earth know? What does your body know? And what do you know beyond the freak out of your mind? If you can already perceive just the relaxed, expansive nature, the anxiety quotient goes down, the freak out goes down. Your body actually starts to be able to release and relax. When you're asking questions about your finances, your business, your personal life, all the stuff that's going on right now, whenever you notice yourself getting tight, getting contracted, getting smushed in your viewpoint, play with these energies. Allow yourself to actually get bigger and expand and relax. You'll be able to see more possibilities, and you'll also be able to see more choices. An amazing kind of visual I like to play with this is when you do have a problem, when there is something going on, when you're freaked out, when you're anxious about something. It's kind of like you are standing in the middle of the forest, smack up against a massive tree. There's something to push against because you're up against this tree. You can't go forward. You're just pushing up against it. You also can't see a way around it because your visual field is taken up by that one thing. And sometimes that one thing seems so big, that metaphorical tree is so massive, that not only can you not see a way around it, but you also lose sense of what's waiting on the other side. If you actually look right now at your life, how much are you making this pandemic, this economical thing, even deeper seated issues that have nothing to do with what we're going through right now? How much have you made that the metaphorical massive tree in front of you? That there's no way around, and also blocks your ability to see the possibilities of future. The trick for that, right now, get that energy of that big tree, whatever that thing is for you, standing in your way, and we're going to shift our perspective. Energetically, visually, however you want to do it, take yourself out of the forest and put yourself up on the vista overlooking the forest. Allow yourself to get far enough away from your quote-unquote problem to have a greater perspective. Pull yourself back. Expand yourself bigger. And instead of being in the forest, smack up against that tree with no way forward, put yourself on the vista where you can actually see the patterns of the forest, where you can see that there's more beyond that tree, and where you can also start to see openings and spaces to actually start moving your way through that forest. This is an amazing, amazing trick. Whenever you start to feel anxious, when your mind is super busy and you can't quite seem to get past the hurdle that's right in front of you. If you stand in front of that tree and constantly butt your head up against it back and forth, all you're doing is wasting energy, and it's never really going to create anything. It holds that tree in place. If you can allow yourself to have space, pull yourself back from the problem. Allow yourself actually to have physical distance, awareness distance, visual distance from your bank account, from your business, from being locked in your house and not being able to come out. All of these weird things that we're going through right now. Pull yourself back and start to see what it is. It's one tree in one part of the forest at one time and one place. It's not the one and only tree that ever will be. There is a way around it, and there is a future waiting for you on the other side. That is the lesson of the earth. It is a constant evolving thing. And what's to say that's what's waiting on the other side is better or worse than what we had before and what we have right now? Well, this is where you have to harness your creative choices and being able to take yourself out of the forest onto the vista, have a wider perspective, and then there start making choices right now that will actually generate the future that you desire. That's the way out of this. And I know right now it may seem to some of you that you don't have a choice, that you don't really have possibilities to play with, but that's just not true. You have to get creative. You have to keep looking. And if you are going through that right now, perhaps you have to expand your perspective. Again, every time you come up against it, get out of the forest, come up on that vista. And an amazing trick that I do when I get really wrapped around that tree and cannot energetically, awareness-wise, take myself out of that, I actually seek out nature. I go stand on my balcony and look out at the mountain. I go to the beach and look out at that open space. Just look for opportunities to be able to expand your visual field. Even looking at nature photos that have a wide open, expansive horizon will give you a sense of that energy and that possibility. When you're really stuck, don't be afraid to use these tricks and tools to allow yourself to expand. Again, that's why we have these screensavers that actually are open and have open vistas and water and all these delicious elements. It's because not only does it have the kind of emotional tie to being able to being relaxed and open and vacation spirited, it's because the energies of those places on the earth actually have that in of themselves. And having that visual reminder, having that energetic reminder actually allows you to shift out of it. There is a future beyond where you are. Don't give up hope on that. And truly, what can the earth gift you in this moment? You're not going to be able to be with it if you're tight and in your head. So in the middle of these freakouts, in the middle of the anxiety, or in the middle of the humdrum sleepiness, that kind of stagnant energy, I've been aware of a lot of that. It's not so much the anxiety anymore. It's just this kind of blank space people are going into, kind of waiting for things to restart. What if you actually allowed the earth to be that kickstart to get you galvanized into action? What can you take action on? What can you actually create in these moments? And what can you actually start looking at in your own life that perhaps you want to reinvent and rewrite the story of? There's a lot of creative potentials right here, right now, as there always are. What would it take to have the perspective and use these relaxing kind of opening techniques to see it for yourself? Happy Earth Day. And again, there is a future on the other side of all of this. It's coming sooner than we could imagine, I'm sure. And it's just a matter of riding the wave where we are right now. And just know that the tree you're staring at and butting against, even if it's right now intense with a pandemic or a chronic thing that you've been butting up against all your life, if you allow yourself to come out of the forest, get up on that vista, you'll see other possibilities. You'll see it for what it truly is, a moment in time and one thing on your life path, not the end-all be-all. And you'll actually start seeing the creative opportunities to work your way to the other side of it. Have an amazing week, and as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday.